Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks so much for coming by to check out another video. In this video, I'm going to cover with you a very important negotiation strategy that I use. It's called the meet in the middle approach. And this is an approach that I use on a regular basis. It's a very important strategy for my business model. And it pretty much works almost every day in terms of generating lots and lots of sales for me over the course of the year. So I wanted to make sure that I shared this strategy with you so that you're familiar with it and can know when to use it, and also importantly when not to use it. So we'll go through those examples in a few moments. I did not invent this strategy, but I'll talk to you a little bit later about how I first came across it and why I use it so much. Now, in terms of why I'm doing this video to begin with, given that I have discussed it on this channel in the past, is because I recently had a member, a new member of my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, ask a question about it. And they had heard or seen one of the other Facebook group members talk about how their business really was benefited by using this strategy because it generated a lot of sales for them. So the new member said, "Hey, that sounds great. Could you send me a link to this video that you did?" And I said, "Sure, no problem." So I went and started looking. And now you got to keep in mind, I have over 250 videos that I did on this channel over the past 11 months. And so it's hard to just scroll through it individually and pick out the video. So I started searching using keywords and stuff like that, and I couldn't come up with it. And I said, that's kind of a problem because I need to be able to locate this much faster. So I said, this is a perfect opportunity for me to do an actual video on this and label it in the title as the meet in the middle approach or strategy. And in addition to that, just to make sure it's more easily accessible, is that I have so many new people who are coming into this channel as subscribers that they might not have seen me discuss this before because it's, older content that might be, much less accessible at this point. I mean, it's not something that, comes up fresh at the top of the channel or anything like that. So it's important sometimes to bring that older content kind of back up and create some new videos about it. So let me talk to you before I jump into some of my own examples of items that I sold using this approach today and also earlier this week, is just how I came across it and why I started using it to begin with. The main reason is that some of you know one of my favorite shows on TV is American Pickers, and Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz a lot of times as buyers use this approach. Now they don't call it really the meet in the middle approach. A lot of times the term they use is split the difference. So what happens is, as buyers, they're trying to acquire an item, and sometimes they go back and forth with the seller, who eventually gets his or her feet kind of dug in on a certain price, and Mike and Frank don't want to quite meet them at that price. And so they say, all right, tell you what, let's split the difference. So let's just say, very basic example, the seller is saying they want $200 for the item, and Mike and Frank are saying they'll offer $150. They'll split the difference at $175. Now, the reason why that works most of the time, not all the time, there's no approach that's going to work all the time, but it works most of the time in my experience as a seller, when you flip it around as a seller, is because both sides feel like they're giving in to the same degree. So the seller is going down the same amount as the buyer is going up. One's going down $25, the other one's going up $25. So both sides feel that that's fair, and that's crucial psychologically to help the negotiation succeed. Is each side needs to feel like that they got a good deal and that they were treated fairly. So that concept of fairness is very important. So keep that in mind, just in general, in your in your business models and how you deal with customers. So I said, you know what, this is a strategy in eBay's offer and counter offer system that I want to make sure I take advantage of, but just the other way around as a seller. Now, there's certain situations where it's appropriate to use and other situations where it's not. Let me take you through an example of an item that just sold today. In fact, it actually just sold a few minutes ago, before I started making the video for this item. An offer came in for $15. As you can see, it's a giant-sized comic book from 1976. It has the Incredible Hulk on it, and Spider-Man, and the Thing, and Thor, and Iron Man, and so it's appropriately themed. That it's a holiday comic book, so more and more people are going to be interested in reading that. Maybe because they're in the holiday spirits right now, or they want to buy it for someone and give it to them as a gift during the holidays. So I know just because of that, the demand is higher and that the buyer is going to be more likely to want it. And I want you to keep that in mind because a lot of people talk about eBay being a buyer's market. It doesn't have to be that extreme that it's just purely a buyer's market. Make it a seller's market. Have that confidence to do that. So if you have an item that has higher demand or high demand, that you could operate like that, like it's a seller's market. Don't give all your leverage away to the buyer. So the buyer offers 15, and in my mind, I know this is a vintage book. It has lots of superheroes. It's in great shape. I have it for the lowest price. I'm offering free shipping. So I'm not going to give another $5 off of the price because I'm then giving away a fourth of the value. And it doesn't make sense to do that in this situation. Now, what will I do? I'd love to get the $19.99 out of it, but if this person is willing to put their money on the table and I'll meet them halfway at $17.50, that still gives me enough money to make a nice profit on it. So the key, also another key for this strategy to work, is that you need to make sure you are sourcing your items low. If you purchase this book at $10, you're going to have a problem. I purchased the book for $1, so that gives me plenty of money left over to generate a nice profit and a nice return on investment at $17.50. You have to know in your head how much is it going to cost to ship the item. If you don't know that in your head, that's a problem, and you need to make sure you figure that out before you decide if you are going to either accept the offer or counter offer in the middle. Now, if this person had initially offered me $17.50, would I have counter offered in the middle then? No, because at that point the person is really pretty close. If they offered $17.50 or $18, that's money they formally put on the table through an offer. Doesn't make sense to take the chance that they're not going to accept a counter offer if you then say $19, because at that point the person is going to feel like that's kind of ridiculous in terms of just splitting it for $1. Now, it may make sense to split for $1 if the item is under $10. Then it may make sense to do that because there's a lot less room to negotiate when you have to factor in shipping costs and fees for less than $10 items. But once it gets to the $20 range or more, then buyers will be much less inclined to accept an offer where they've already came up pretty close and they're only like $2 away from you, or something like that. So just keep that in mind when you decide whether or not you're gonna do a counter offer or just accept what the person gave you. So for me to basically put out a counter offer that's meet in the middle is that it has to be pretty close to where I'm at, but far enough away that I'm not completely comfortable, and I'm pretty confident that if I go meet in the middle, they're not going up too much higher, and relative to what the item value is. And again, I know I'm going to be going down the same amount they're going to be going up, and that they'll usually, in most cases, like I said earlier, they will generally accept that. Now, it doesn't work in all cases. There's no strategy, no technique that works in every single situation, but the vast majority of cases, I find that this strategy does work. It's not necessarily going to work instantly. Sometimes the person will sit on it and mull it over and maybe not respond for a day or two. They have 2 days to respond, so don't panic and then send them another message and say, oh, well, you didn't respond, so I'll go lower. Don't do that. Stick with your initial offering. And I'll show you an example of why right here. Let's take you through another one. This is from this morning. Now, this is another comic book related item. I'll show you some ones that are not comic book related. This is actually a replica of a price guide, the first ever Overstreet comic book price guide from 1970. Now this item itself as a replica was made in 93. Now replicas are not ever as valuable as the original. And so you keep that in mind when someone makes you an offer. Replicas are not as desirable as originals. There are originals of these floating around, but they cost a heck of a lot more money. The other thing, price guides, old price guides generally are not too desirable because the prices in them now are really not anything that could be used. It's just to look back more for nostalgia and for maybe historical research into items, at a particular era in terms of what they were worth. But so in this one, the person offered me $10, and I was willing to meet in the middle at $15. So I submitted a counter offer for 15 because one, I sourced it for very low. I got this item for around 10 cents as part of a big comic book haul that I made. And again, the nature of the actual item. It's not something that's in super high demand. It's something people want, but not being an original, not being very old, unlike this right here. It's old, it's original. There's a lot more to it that makes it more desirable of a piece in general compared to this one right here. This is actually pretty small in reality. This is not the size of like a normal size comic book. It's about half to 3/4 of the size of it. So anyway, submitted the counter offer, and then about 2 days later, not a full 2 days, the person wound up purchasing it. And so there you go. What if I would have said, I submit the counter offer for $15, the person doesn't respond for over a day, then I get nervous and send back and say, you know what, no, you could just take it for the 10, or maybe will you do $12.50 then? How about that? You do that and you are just causing yourself to bleed money. Don't do that. Stick with a middle offer price. And keep it somewhere close to where you are at. Now, would I have accepted $15 on this item? No, at least not right now. I wouldn't have. This would have had to go several more weeks of not selling for close to this price, maybe at $19.99, $18.99, $17.99, for me to feel convinced that the current market right now is not going to pay what it normally had paid on this item over the past 60 days. So, that's something you have to, again, keep in mind. You have to know your market research. It's so important to deciding what to do in a certain situation. What might be good in one situation for one type of item may not be the best situation for another type of item. So, that's something you want to keep in mind. I'm going to go over a few other examples for you so you could see. I want to show you some things that aren't all comic book related ones. We just have to wait for this to go back, and let's see here. Let's go down and show you something else that's sold. So this one, let's see, right here. Aliens versus Predator. So this is a toy. So we're in toy season now. Another thing I know in my mind, it's a toy. Okay, so toy, what do people want around the holidays for their kids? They want toys. So, this is a situation where I feel like, I have some leverage in the situation to make the counteroffer and not just accept the offer that came in for this item. So I had it for $27.50. The person offered me $20 for it. I knew that this item, despite how it may appear, looks pretty large, and it is a pretty big actual card in the back there that holds the figures, but they're actually very light, and it actually does go first class. So it gets up there like close to the 16-ounce mark, but it does still go first class. So I said to myself, well, I already know I'm in profit with this toy collection that I purchased. Person's offering me 20. No, it generally goes for around this $27.50 price range. That factors in with I'm factoring in the free shipping when I say that. So I'll counter offer. I'll take a little bit less. My price is competitive. I'm already the lowest but I'll meet him in the middle. So counter offered and wound up selling it for, I believe, $23.75 is what it sold for. So, round that up, it's about $24. And, that's a nice, quick, good, easy sale. Make about the high teens in it in terms of profit on it. And, again, not bad for something that you just have to wrap some bubble wrap around. In fact, this is actually the one that is actually the item that I showed in my video. I don't remember if it was my video here on YouTube or the one that I did on my Instagram account, which you should go check out. It's at prime_time_treasure, no S at the end, in which I talked about how to properly pack up toys. Oh, actually, yeah, that was my video that I did last night. I've been doing so many videos lately, it's hard to keep track which form I'm putting them on. Because if you, just as an aside, if you come to my Instagram account, you will see me put up videos there. They're about a minute long, in which I go over some exclusive content that I don't put onto this channel. So I try to keep them unique in terms of having different types of content on it, like brief little snippets there. So go check that out. You might find the Instagram account interesting as well. If you're liking these videos, you'll probably like those minute long ones as well. So there's that one there. Let's go back and go through a couple of other items so you could see how I use this approach. Hopefully we'll get back here pretty easily. And all right, so let's find another one here. Here's another great example for those of you who sell clothes. So this is a double-sided original Dream Team basketball shirt. I've talked about these before as be on the lookout items of the day in my Facebook group. These types of character shirts are very sought after. These vintage ones from the 80s or the early 90s. If you see them anytime, pick them up. Had the price at $39.99. Person offered me $30. Very light, easy to ship. If I counter offer at $35 and I'm all in profit in this collection, which I acquired with a lot of comic books and other toys and collectibles, that's the $35 sale. I'll take that any day for a very, very minimal sourcing amount. So person accepted it. So there we go. $35 sale, put in a poly bag, out the door. There we go. Okay. Now, actually, you know what? Let me go back to this one right here and just mention for that $40, it was $40. What if the person offered me 10 bucks? Now, that kind of stuff happens. You get these extreme lowball offers. Well, what's the difference there? Well, the difference there is now it's $30. Okay. Well, what's that divided by 2? What would meet in the middle be? 15. Okay. So you could counteroffer at 25, but you're taking $15 off a highly desirable item. Doesn't make sense. You're giving money away. Don't do that. Someone else will come along pretty shortly and make you a better offer, or just buy it now. Now, this is why patience is very important with using this strategy as well. You have to be able to have some patience with it. And it will eventually, if you have patience with it, it will pay off for you. Now, on the flip side, let me say, if this was, let's say this was a mistake purchase or something, or it's something that was just kind of tossed in, a collectibles purchase that, or wherever, some kind of big giant clothing haul that you did, and it was not something that was pretty valuable or sought after, but you just decided to price it at 40 for whatever reason, and it wasn't selling, and it hasn't sold for months, and this is the 3rd or 4th time that you've put it up to try to sell it, and you have it for 40 bucks at this point, and a person comes across and offers you 10. Well, that might be a situation where you do counteroffer at 25. You see, it really just depends on the item. You've got to basically know what the history of the item is, how much you sourced it for, what the demand is for it, what's it sold for recently. How much does it cost to ship? You have to put all of those different variables at play and understand them before you decide whether or not it makes sense to do the meet in the middle counteroffer approach. But hopefully, by going through these different examples and different scenarios, that will help you when you get in this situation, kind of play it out and decide exactly what it is you want to do. Let's go through maybe one more example. We'll go through a higher priced item, and so we'll talk about this one here. So this is one. I talked about her recently in my Facebook group for Be on the Lookout item of the day. It's Lady Death. Now, it's not a comic book, even though it might look like it. Lady Death is a comic book character, but this is a signed art print of Lady Death. In fact, not just one art print, there's 6 of them in there. This is obviously the main one. It's sealed. I had it up for $100. Now, this one is one of those items that is difficult to comp because you just don't find this around much anymore. And even when looking for similar items, it was very hard to find something that would exactly comp to this or closely comp to this. So based on things that were somewhat similar, although not identical, I wound up putting a price of $100 on it. Now, I actually even had it for higher than that at one point, and eventually got down to $99.99. And so someone came across and offered me $60. And I said, you know what? Not that $60 is terrible, but it's $40 off of where I'm at. Now, what I source it for? I wish I could have videotaped this estate that I got sale, but it was the private one that I told you about that I couldn't film. But oh my goodness, this is just one of so many art pieces that I put in this, big bin, or I shouldn't say bin, but it's like this big giant envelope. It was huge. This is a big giant poster board envelope that fit this, and just like like hundreds of pieces. It's crazy. And I wound up getting it for just such a good deal that I don't have much in it. So someone might say, well, why not just accept the 60? You could just accept the 60 if you think of it that way, but I know what I don't know what the exact value of it is, but I know that this character is popular. I know it's rare. So I feel confident on my side that if I counteroffer and come down $20, that person may be willing to jump up another $20, especially since it's around the time of the holiday. So people are looking for gifts. They're willing to pay a little bit more. And the person's not going to be able to go anywhere else to get the item. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind. If you have a unique piece, or if you have a piece that a lot of other people are selling and you have the lowest price, then if you're willing to meet in the middle and the other person isn't, then I wouldn't deal with that person at that point, because you already have it at the lowest price, and you don't even have to really even set it to that you'll do offers. And so if you send back a respectful meet in the middle counter offer and the person still doesn't want to take it, well, I say to myself, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go to get that item? And so or get it for less. You're going to have to pay more for it if you want to go to a different seller. People generally don't want to do that. So you could decline, and it will happen a lot of times is the person will then come back and send you the offer that you had for the meet in the middle number. So they might, for example, for this item, the meet in the middle is $79.99. Let's say the person offers, counter offers you at $69.99 or 59, no, let's say $69.99 or $64.99. You can just decline that if you want. And what'll happen a lot of times is the person will then send you back another offer for what you basically counter offer them at that meet in the middle number. And you could also, if you want, re-counter the person at the meet in the middle number and say, sorry, I feel this is fair. This is meeting in the middle, or whatever term you want to use, meeting halfway, splitting the difference, and that's the lowest I'm willing to go. And a lot of times that helps generate the sale. And so this did sell. This item here sold for $80. So it was a great sale, great flip, very happy about it. And another sale made through the meet in the middle approach. So use it all the time, but again, it really just depends on all those different variables that I went through in terms of how you're going to let the situation play out. And this is a strategy that works for me. If you should feel free to modify it to the way that you like, that works best for whatever your business model is. But if you haven't implemented it yet, consider putting forth some experiments and using it and seeing if it's going to work. It's not going to work, like I said, in every situation. There will be someone who just doesn't respond to the counter offer and walks away. And that's okay. You have to be willing to accept that and be comfortable with that, because if you have a good enough item, then someone else should come along and make you a more respectful offer. That's how you have to think about it, but that's why patience is so important. So with that and with those examples, I'm going to wrap it up. If you have questions or examples you want to throw my way in terms of how would you deal with this certain situation, feel free to drop that stuff in the comment section. In addition, make sure you let me know in the comment section if you start using this approach and it works for you and it's helping you out, it's generating sales. I'd love to see that. That's after all why I'm making the video, is to help you out and help your business out. So um, with just some house cleaning items, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, that's my Facebook group. I am very proud to announce that hit 4,000 members today. So please come by and consider joining that group. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. There's lots of useful information I pass on there and that other members share with one another. It's a very supportive group, no trolls or anything like that. So I'd love to see you come by there. Again, the link's in the description section. Like I said earlier, also mentioned, just mention again, make sure you come to my Instagram account. That's prime_time_treasure. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel as we try to get that subscription number up there. And really appreciate that. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the love. Thanks for coming back, and I'll see you at the next video, everyone. Take care.